Right, good evening everyone. Good evening everyone. I hope you guys are good. Right, so today's topic we are going to be focusing on the triangle problem. The triangle problem. So the last time we're doing the Cartesian plane problem, and now we are doing the second question that you're going to find in your exam, which is the triangle problem. Right, so what are we doing on the triangle problem? So now let's say you are having sine of 49 is equals to k. All right, they say write the following in terms of k. Then they say write the following in terms of k. It can be let me see, sine let me see it can be sine 31. Yes, sine 31. Find tan 49, find cos 49, find let's say cos 100 and let's say 229. Yes, cos 229. Find what else? Yeah, I'm just making an example. Right, so now, so every time when I'm given an angle here and I'm given a variable here, we call that the triangle. This is the triangle problem. All right, this is a triangle problem. Sometimes I may have sine of, let's say 29 is equals to square root of 1 minus k squared. All right, as long as I'm having an angle here and I'm having a variable here, we call it the triangle problem. All right, I hope that makes sense. We call it the triangle problem. All right, so this is what we are going to be focusing on. Right, so we have done the Cartesian plane problem, right, on part 1. So if you haven't went to part 1, just go through it, then you come back to part 2. Right, so today we'll be doing what we call the triangle plane problem. Right, so in the triangle plane problem, what are the things that you should know? Right, every time we are going to draw a triangle, a right angle triangle, every time when you are dealing with this one, based on the Cartesian plane problem, you draw a Cartesian plane. Right, so what do I do here? I'll be having my angle here. Depends, since for now I'm dealing with 49, I'll be having 49 here. Make sure that you write all your angles. Obviously this will be 90. Right, this one will be, let's see, yes, this one will be 41. Should we make it 41? But yeah, somehow here I was supposed to say 41. Yes, let's make this one 41. Okay, let's make this one 41. Okay, so now what do we do from here? Right, so remember, what do we know about sine? We know that sine theta is equals to opposite over hypotenuse. Right, so everything that is on the x-axis, do you see this? This is an x-axis, right? I call it an x. Everything that happens on the y-axis, I call it the y. Right. Okay, then the hypotenuse, I call it r. Right, what should we know again? We have cos theta. We know cos theta is just an adjacent over hypotenuse. We have tan theta is equals to opposite over hypotenuse. All right. No, my mistake. Opposite over adjacent. Opposite over adjacent. Right, so this is what we need to know. Right, these are the basics that you need to be familiar with. Okay, so now what do we do exactly here? Right, so since I'm dealing with sine of k, sine 45 is equals to k, what do I do here? Okay, I just break it down into a fraction. I break it down into a fraction. This is sine of 49 is equals to k over 1. Since I'm dealing with sine, I know this is an opposite. This one will be my hypotenuse, right? So I check here. I come to my triangle. I know my opposite is equals to k. The opposite of 49, I'll just substitute it with k. All right. The opposite of 49, I'll substitute it with what? K. All right. What else do I have? I have the hypotenuse as 1. I have the hypotenuse as 1. All right. So I have the y value. I have the y axis. I have the radius. I'm left with what? With x. So what we do here, we do the same thing as we did previously. So initially we're saying hypotenuse theorem of Pythagoras is just r squared is equals to x squared plus y squared, right? So for this case, what do I have? So it's going to be, what is my r squared? It's going to be y squared is equals to x squared plus y, which is k squared, right? So this is 1 minus k squared is equals to x squared. X squared is equals to plus minus, I put a square root, 1 minus k squared. All right, so one thing that you should know is that your answer should always be a positive. Your answer should always be a positive when you are dealing with a Cartesian plane problem. So I'm having x is equals to a positive of 1 minus k squared. Right, so make sure that you know the y value, you know the x value, you know the radius every time. Make sure that you know that the y value, the x value, the radius. Okay, so now already I have the x, so I know here this x is just a plus of 1 minus k squared. All right, from there then we can start solving the problems. All right, I think I'm running out of pages here. Let's just add few pages. Right, this is what we are having. All right, so the first question was that find sine 41, right? Sine 41. So what do I do from there? So we're going to say sine 41 is equals to opposite over hypotenuse. Right, so I come to 41. This is my 41. Right, what will be my opposite for this case? It will be square root of 1 over k. So it's just square root of 1 minus k squared over, what is my hypotenuse? My hypotenuse for this case is just 1. So it's just a square root of 1 minus k squared. All right, then they want tan 49. Tan 49 is equals to, let's say this will be opposite over adjacent. Right, so I come to 49. What is my opposite is k. What is my adjacent is square root of 1 over k. So I'll just say k over 1 minus k squared. All right, then when you simplify it, all right, sometimes you'll be required to simplify. This will be k 1 minus k squared over 1 minus k. All right, you rationalize here. you just rationalize, which means in simple terms, what did I do? I just rationalize. You multiply with the denominator, so it's 1 minus k squared, 1 minus k squared. So when you simplify it, it's just k square root of 1 minus k squared over 1 minus k squared. All right, then what about we need cos 49. Cos 49 is cos 2. What is cos 49? It's just an adjacent over hypotenuse. So remember, my adjacent, when I'm standing here, this one is my adjacent. So it's basically 1 minus k squared over 1. This is cos 2 square root of 1 minus k squared. Alright, then we're required to find cos 229. Alright, cos 229. Right, so what do you do from there? Okay, so cos 229, so it's cos 229. This becomes cos of 180 plus a 49. This becomes a negative cos of 49. And remember, it will be a negative. Cos is just an adjacent over hypotenuse. So it will be a negative. What is my adjacent? Square root of 1 minus k squared over 1, which is negative, negative 1 minus k squared over 1. Right? So that's what I get. That's what I get. Okay, let's have another problem. Let's say we are given a cos of 20 degrees is equals to 1 minus k squared. Right? 1 minus k squared. This is what I'm having. Then they say find a sine of 160. Find a cos of 70. Find a tan of 20 degrees. Find let's say yes, a sine of 250. Yes, 250. Find a sine of, let's say, 200. Right, so remember, we are writing everything in terms of k. Right, so it's 1 minus, let me rewrite it, my handwriting is bad. So it's square root of 1 minus k squared. Okay, so what do we do? What's the first thing that you need to do? You need to draw a triangle. Right, we need to draw a triangle. So what do we do from there? We need to draw a triangle. So let's say for this one, you're going to do this. Right, remember here we'll write our angle. This will be 20 degrees. Right, what do I have? Remember, a cos is just what? An opposite of an adjacent over hypotenuse. Right, it's just an adjacent over hypotenuse, so I can write it in a fraction form. So what am I having now? So what will be adjacent here? So if this is 20, this one will be 70, and my adjacent for this one will be 1 minus k squared. My radius will be basically a 1, since it's this one. Therefore, in this case, we are left with a y. We don't know the y, so still we use theorem of Pythagoras. So is r squared is equals to x squared plus y squared. Okay, so what is my r? What is my r? What is my r? What is my r? So the value for r for this case is basically a 1 squared is equals to, what is my x? My x is basically let's see. Oh yes, my x is just 1 minus k squared. All right, a square root of 1 minus k squared plus a y squared. So when I simplify this, I'll have 1 squared is equals to 1 minus k squared, everything squared plus y squared. So when you simplify, we'll have 1 is equals to 1 minus k squared plus y. Then I transpose, this will be 1 minus 1 plus k squared is equals to y squared, right? Then what do we do from here? What do we do from here? Okay, let's see. Let's see. So now we need to find y squared. So y squared is equals to k squared. We put a square root, we put a square root. Remember, every time we put a square root, you get two answers. So it's plus minus k, right? But here we'll always take the positive answer. Therefore, y is equals to k, right? So we know the value of k of y now. We know the value of x. We know the value of what? Of r. So now we can solve the problem. Remember, always make sure that you find the value of what? The value of y, the value of r, and the value of x, right? The value of x. So what do we do from here? What do we do? So I'll have sine of 160. All right, what is sine of 160? Is the same as sine of 180 minus 20, right? This one is in the third quadrant, so therefore it becomes sine of 20, right? So I'll explain this one in detail in part 3. Part 3, right? So what do we do here? What is sine 20? So I'm standing here. Sine 20 is just an opposite, which is k. So opposite over hypotenuse, so it's going to be k over 1, which is basically k. All right, what is cos 70? Right, so cos 70, I'm standing here, right? So this one becomes my adjacent, this one becomes my hypotenuse. So it's going to be adjacent over hypotenuse. So my hypotenuse for this case is just k over 1, which is just k. The next question is tan 20 degrees. All right, tan 20 degrees, I know I'm dealing with what's in opposite over adjacent. All right, so I'm standing here. What is my opposite? It's just k over square root of 1 minus k squared. All right, 1 minus k squared. All right, so what's the next one? I think here we're having 50, right? 250. Yes, 250. 250. So what do we do from there? What do we do from here? So it's going to be sine of 250 is the same as sine of 180 plus 70, right? So this one is in the third quadrant. This one is in the third quadrant, so it's going to be negative sine of 70, right? Negative sine of 70, remember sine is just so we'll say negative. What will be my sine is just what do we have? It's just an opposite over hypotenuse. So it's negative. Then what do we do from there? So it's negative. What is my opposite? So when I made 70, my opposite is square root of 1 minus k. So it's negative 1 minus k squared over, what was my hypotenuse? Just a 1. All right, I hope everyone understand. Right, I hope everyone understands on that one. Let me see. Let me try to find a question. Let's see. All right. Yes. Right. Here's the question that we have. Okay. Right. So we are having a cos of 49. So on this one, we're having a cos of 49 degrees is equals to a k. Then they say determine the value of the following. So determine the values of the following in terms of k. Right, so what do I have? So I have a sine of 131. Okay, then the other one we are having a 1 minus cos of 241. So cos squared 241, cos squared 41. So it's cos squared 41. All right, so let me write it proper. So it's cos squared 41. All right, so what's the first thing first? Remember, we always draw our Cartesian plane. Right, so remember, so here I'll have my degree, which is 49. Then this one would be 90. Then if I'm having 49 here, this one should be 41, right? Yes, that should be 41 degrees. Okay, so from there I know cos. So it's cos, I know I'm dealing with an adjacent over hypotenuse. All right, so I'm having k over 1. So my adjacent is k, my hypotenuse is 1. So I'm standing here at 49. So this one will be k, this one will be 1. So I'm left with what? Y. So I have to find y. So we are going to say r squared is equal to x squared plus y squared, right? So 1 squared is equal to k squared plus y squared. So 1 minus k squared is equal to y squared. Y is equal to plus minus square root of what? 1 minus k squared. Remember, we are always taking a positive answer here. So it's going to be 1 minus k squared. Alright, 1 minus k squared. Alright, so what do we do from here? What do we do here? So I've already found my y. So we start with sine of 131. Sine of 131 is the same as sine of 180 minus 49, right? So this becomes sine, this is in the third quadrant, so sine is positive, sine of 49. Therefore, what is sine of 49? This will be opposite over hypotenuse. So what is my opposite? It's just square root of 1 minus k squared. What is my hypotenuse? It will be 1. So it's square root of 1 minus k squared. Alright, then what are we looking for else? What else are we looking for? Alright, the second one is just 1 minus cos squared 41. Right, so what will it be? It's 1 minus bracket. Remember, there's a squared. This will be opposite. What is cos 41? We know cos 41 is just an adjacent over hypotenuse, but squared. Do you see that? Right, so when I simplify it, I will have what is my adjacent? My adjacent, I think we got k. Alright, k over 1 squared. So the answer becomes 1 minus k squared. Alright, so that's the solution for this one. Let's find another one. let's say number 2. So we are having sine of 32 is equals to p, right? Then they say express each of the following in terms of p. Express each of the following in terms of p. All right, so now they give me a tan of negative 32 and a sine of 418. All right, so what do I do? Remember, again, we start with the triangle, a right angle triangle, right? So I'll put my 32 here. If I'm having 32 here, I should be having 58. Yes, you should be having 58 here. All right, yeah, that should be 58. Right, so remember, sine is just in p over 1, which is opposite over hypotenuse, right? So my opposite is p, so I'm standing here. My opposite will be p. My hypotenuse will be 1. All right, so I'm just left with what? With an x. So we solve for x. Right, so r squared is equal to x squared plus y squared. Right, then what do we do? What is my r squared? So it's 1 squared is equals to x squared plus p squared. So 1 is equals to x squared plus p squared. So 1 minus p squared is equals to x squared. You can see we are repeating the same thing again and again. So my x is going to be square root of plus minus 1 minus p squared. So it's going to be plus remember we are taking the positive one, so it's going to be plus 1 minus p squared. Right, so we have already solved for x. Then remember, this is now what? 1 minus p squared, right? 1 minus p squared. So what do we do now? We want tan of negative 32. All right, tan of negative 32. Tan of a negative angle is just what? A negative tan of 32. All right, so but to remember, what is tan? Is negative opposite over adjacent. Right, so in this case, what was my opposite? It was negative. My opposite was p. My adjacent was square root of 1 minus p squared. When you simplify, it's just p square root of 1 minus p squared over 1 minus p squared. Right, then what's the next question? The next question required us to find a sine of 418. So usually when you're having a bigger number that is greater than 360, you just say sine of 418 minus 360. Just subtract with the 360. I'll dwell into this one in the next chapter. Right, so 418, what am I having? This will be a sine of a 58, right? So a sine of a 58, I come to this one. So what is my opposite? So I will have opposite over hypotenuse. So in this case, what is my opposite? Is square root of 1 minus p squared over 1. So the answer is just a 1 minus p squared. So that's what I have. That's what I get, right? Then the last question, listen. The last question, okay, let's have this one. Right, the last question, let's say we're having a cos. They said a cos of 62 is equals to k. Then they say determine the value of each Oh, this one, the value of each of the following, following in terms of k, all right. So what do I do from here? Let's say I'll say they give us sine of 28, they give us a cos of 242. All right, so what do I do? Remember, we always start with the triangle, a right angle triangle. So I'll be having a 90 degrees here. I'll be having the angle that they gave me, 62. So if I'm having 62 here, I think I should be having 28 here. Yes, 28. So a cos, remember, a cos is just an adjacent over hypotenuse. So I have to write this into a fraction. It's just a k over 1. So what will be my adjacent for this one is k. My opposite will be y, which I don't know. This will be y. So I have to solve for y. So we are going to say x squared plus y squared is equals to r squared, right? So 1 squared is equals to, what is my x? Is just k squared plus y squared. Therefore y squared is equal to 1 minus k squared. Therefore y is equal to the square root of 1 minus k squared. Remember, write the answer in full. So it's going to be, this is plus or minus, right? So therefore we take the positive 1 minus k squared. So this is what I have. This is what I'm having. Then let's start solving. Then I know y is equals to 1 minus k squared. Alright, so what do we do here? So we have sine of 28 is equals to an opposite over a hypotenuse. So remember, I'm sitting at 28, my opposite is k, my hypotenuse is 1, so the answer is just k. The other one is cos of 242, which is the same as cos of 180 plus 62. All right, so this one is in the third quadrant, cos is negative, which is 62. So what we do here is negative adjacent over hypotenuse. So it's negative, what is my adjacent? Is just a k, hypotenuse is 1, which is negative k. All right, so that will be the end of today's session. All right, so try this one, try this one, try this one, try this one. Yeah, try this one on your own. Then the next section will be based on yes, past papers on this one. So we are saying cos of 23 is equals to 1 minus g squared, right? They say express each of the following in terms of g, right? They want sine 23, they want tan 103, they want a sine of negative 653 degrees, right? So try to find those ones in terms of what? In terms of k. So that will be today's session, right? Have a lovely night.